السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أفضل الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. So we're continuing on with our inner dimensions of fasting. Today is day 6 or episode 6 of our inner dimensions of fasting course. I hope you've benefited from this. I think there are deeper aspects to fasting that we probably have not considered before. And I just want to remind everybody that this is a goal sheet that we can use to help us with our Ramadan goals. But more specifically, as we enter the last 10 nights of Ramadan, we should have goals attributable to these last 10 nights. So what do I mean by that? Okay, you've gotten used to fasting now for almost 3 weeks. You've participated in Taraweeh prayers. You've taken your suhoor. You've done all these additional things. You're reading Quran on a daily basis. You've engaged in additional prayer, and you've refrained yourself from anger and wasting time and all these distractions. You've eliminated these distractions. But now during these last 10 days, it's a place for you really, or a time for you to really kick it into high gear, so to speak. So if you've done Salat al-Taraweeh for these past 3 weeks, now is the time to actually do Tahajjud prayer. Now could be the time where you're prepare a dua list and actually go even an extra level beyond what you have already. And that really will instill, it will be a stronger point to further instill these habits into your daily routine and your daily habits. So I would say that take a look at this list. See what of your worship that you're offering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during these sacred days and during the sacred month, and what is it that you can do to actually increase it from what it is today. Early at the month, it was maybe at a certain level. You've managed to increase that now at this point. But what can you do higher as we go into these last 10 days, right? So today is going to be night 20, right? And we're almost 3 weeks into this, and subhanallah, this has gone these 20 days has gone by so quickly, so fast, that it's really I almost don't feel the fast, to be 100% perfectly honest. So it becomes incumbent upon us now to take the fullest advantage of our time in this month, and even extend those those habits, those that best version of ourselves that we're trying to attain, trying to even reach for even higher and loftier goals. So I hope this is this list is useful as we get into these last 10 nights. Concentrate on your dua, and as we search for Laylatul Qadr, it could be any one of these last 10 nights. But the hadith of the Prophet والسلام, specifically focuses on the odd nights within the last 10 nights. So what is it that you can do? And it may be different things for different people. I may have a different action that I want to improve upon for myself, and that may be different than you and what you want to see by the end of the month. So I think that's a good start, and this is helpful to me. Now, we left off last time discussing Al-Imam Ghazali's quote here, and how we're all born with a knowing pain in the soul, which causes us to seek happiness, but most of us seek substitute pleasures deriving from the body, which cannot resolve a pain that is essentially spiritual. So I want to throw it back to the audience, and I want to see what your impression is of this quote. What do you think Imam Ghazali is trying to highlight here for us? I'm going to go back here. We're all born with a known pain in the soul, which causes us to seek happiness, but most of us seek substitute pleasures deriving from the body, which cannot resolve a pain that is essentially spiritual. So to me, this actually reminds me of a verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تُطْمَئِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ. And we reviewed that in an earlier session. The only way that our hearts will find peace is through the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're seeking substitute pleasures all the time. We're watching TV shows, we're constantly being distracted, whether it's family or jobs, our pursuit of wealth, our pursuit of all these things are physical pleasures, substitute pleasures. But the eternal pleasure of the hereafter, that is not temporary. That's not substitute, right? That's permanent. And we spoke also about meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the pleasure of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all that incredible blessing, inshallah ta'ala. But we really spoke about looking forward to meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, inshallah, even hearing the quote, Ya ayyuhan nafs al-mutma'inna irja ila rabbi, so hopefully to reach the level where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with you. And of course, you are well pleased with what he's given you. But this is a permanent pleasure. And it goes back to even the intentions that we tried to cover in our in our earlier sessions. So this is a very very powerful quote and incredible meaning behind this. So I see a quote here from Faiz, Jazakallah khair Faiz. We seek happiness that is in this world and is not spiritual, like praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's exactly right. So again, that goes back to the quote, Faiz, right, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the only way our heart will attain full peace and the only way. So it's not a way, It's the only way that our hearts will attain happiness, and our hearts will attain tranquility, right? And to be that nasl mutma'inna, right? That where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls, oh soul, that oh tranquil soul, or soul that has attained peace and rest and tranquility, come to my come to my worship and come to my paradise. The only way to attain that is through the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And that's the ultimate aim that we get from fasting, right? Is to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times, to be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our daily actions, through our work, through our school, through all our interactions with our family and our friends and our neighbors, right? Constantly being uh, um, in mind, or keeping in mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our end game. This is the end goal, right? Is that being in that position on the day of judgment, and hearing those words, inshallah ta'ala, from our Creator, to tell us He is pleased with us and we are pleased with Him, and He, we're looking forward to that meeting, right? And if there's also the hadith that if you come to walking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He comes to you running, right? So if you come by a certain amount, He comes by that much more, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is looking forward, if you're looking forward to that meeting. So Jazakallah khair, Faiz, for your comment. If you have comments, I really want to encourage this to be interactive. I know most of the past sessions have been one-sided, but I want to hear from everybody watching, inshallah. So today I wanted to touch upon the story of Malik ibn Dinar, and I'm going to ask you, once we go through the story, once we're complete with the story, what I'd like to do is ask those that are listening for their impressions of why I'm sharing this, and inner dimensions of fasting type of session. So Malik ibn Dinar ultimately winds up being one of the greatest scholars in the history of Islam. But he doesn't start off that way. He starts off actually as a drunk. And he was a policeman, and one day during his work, he came across a young girl that he took a liking to her, and he wanted a child of his own. So he wound up getting married, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with, alhamdulillah. And as I said, he was a drunk, and there would be he would drink and drink and drink, and at one point he mentions the scene where he's drinking, and his daughter hops onto his lap, and she pushes the drink away from him, and he took that as a sign, and he really extended an effort to stop that habit and to become more religious, so that he would pray. He would pray more often, and he really saw an improvement in his life. So he would be praying more, and he would becoming more and more religious, alhamdulillah. And he even mentions, like I said, that improvement. He saw that in his life. But when his little girl, his little girl, was, her name was Fatima, and when she was about 4 or 5, I believe she was 4 years old, she started to develop a sickness, and he kept on praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure her from the sickness, and he's again in despair. She's my everything. She's my daughter, and I love her so much, and I really want to have her. Return to healthy status. And So he continued to make dua and continued, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the benefit of good health for her. But as it happens, her health actually got worse, and she got to the point that she was so sick that she ultimately passed away at a very young age, so 4 or 5 years old. So at this point, Malik ibn Dinar actually returned back to his ways. And it got to the point where even one night he said, I'm going to drink like I never drank before. And he goes and he gets so drunk that he actually passed out. And during his time as he passed out, he had a dream. In his dream, it was the scene was the day of judgment, and and his name was actually called upon. Ya Malik ibn Dinar, come for your accounting. So he's scared, and the in this dream, he's suddenly being pursued by this huge snake, and he's running and running, and this snake is very scary, and it's it's about to catch up with him and kill him and feed off of him. And he continues to run and to run and to run, and he's just eluding it. And he passes by an old man. He's like, I'm running from this snake. You have to tell me where I can go to hide, or how can you help me? Because this snake is pursuing me and I can't get away from the snake. And the old man says, I'm just an old man. I can't help you. I can't do anything for you. So he continues to run, and he continues and continues, and he comes by the same old man. And he says, you have to help me. I'm trying to escape this snake. And he seems to be so persistent, and he's coming after me like I can't avoid it. And he says, go over there. I'm an old man. I can't help you, but go over there, see if there's anybody that can help you from that area. So he goes and he sees somebody that he recognizes, and what he does is um, he actually sees his daughter, Fatima, and then the snake comes and she motions by her hand to stop, and the snake stops, and she then points in another direction, and the snake uh, uh, goes into that direction. So Malik ibn Dinar, she actually sits in his lap, and he says, actually, she sits in my lap like she used to do in this world. And he asks her, my daughter, what is this? What is that snake, and what is going on exactly? And she tells him, oh my father, don't you see that the your actions in this world they took the form of your good actions in this world took the form of an old man. So your good actions were so weak, and they were so little, that they took the form of an old man. But your bad actions, the one that you couldn't escape from, right, took the form of a snake, and you made it all powerful and all threatening to you, right? They were so powerful that you couldn't avoid them. So your actions in this world take the physical form in the next world. And she says, can't you, she repeats to him a verse from the Holy Quran, and ألم يأني للذين آمنوا وأن يخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق. Isn't it time for the people who have a humble heart, for them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to obey to what has been revealed from their Lord? And she says, isn't it time? Isn't it time? Alam ya'ni? Alam ya'ni? In Arabic, that means, isn't it time? and he suddenly woke up from his stupor, from his dream, and he says, "It's time! It's time! It's time!" And he actually, it was the time for Salat al-Fajr, and he heard the adhan for Salat al-Fajr, and he actually went out to have Salat al-Fajr in the masjid. And when he arrived, the Imam was reciting those verses. أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. And he took it as such a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From that point on, he went on to become, as I said at the very beginning, one of the greatest scholars in all of Islamic history, right? So I want to pause right here, and I want your input. Why am I sharing this story in these sacred days of Ramadan? Go ahead. I'm waiting for your thoughts. I know there's a handful of people on, alhamdulillah, so I'm interested in hearing your opinions. Okay. While you're putting those thoughts in, inshallah, I'm sharing this with you because the scholars say that through deprivation. Okay, I have a few comments now. Okay, so it shows that anyone can get better. That's true, Fayez. MashaAllah. I love your participation today. MashaAllah. Ibrahim, Ramadan is a time to self-improve. Tawbah. That's true. MashaAllah. And Marwa, I like his fast response when he got the sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the dream. Yes, MashaAllah. But why I'm sharing this right now is because the scholars say sometimes we are given things and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deprives us. And sometimes he deprives us and he's really giving us a benefit that's not visible to the eyes. So for example, in this story, what happened to Malik ibn Dinar after he lost his daughter? Was it a good thing that he lost his daughter? No, but he deprived him of his daughter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala essentially had her returned to him. But he really gave him, by depriving him of his daughter, he actually benefited him. Okay? So it's really, you really have to look deep within yourself, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he deprived him of his daughter. He actually improved his and got closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in effect, it was really a good thing, if you are following me, to lose his daughter, because then he went on to become the greatest scholar in Islam, one of the greatest scholars in Islamic history. Right? So the reason I'm sharing this is that in Ramadan we deprive ourselves of things that are halal. We deprive our things of things that are typically halal for us, so that we attain benefit of it spiritually, things that we may not see. Okay, we deprive ourselves of the food, the drink, and relations with our spouses, and that sacrifice is really given to us many-fold times over, but it may not be seen necessarily to the physical eye, or you may not even see it until much, much, much later, right? So um, I I hope everybody sees the point I'm trying to make about deprivation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really gives us more and of course there are the ayat in the Quran, right? Which if you were to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings, uh, yes, from sleep and rest. Thank you. But so if you were to لو تعدون نعمة الله عليكم لا تحصوها. If you were to even try to attempt to count the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, لا تحصوها. It's innumerable, it's infinite. It's, you know, you are not going to be able to enumerate on all those blessings, right? And it's funny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also tells us in shakartum la azidannakum, for all the blessings that he has given us. If you thank him and are grateful for those blessings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you more. La azidannakum. He will give you more, right? So it becomes, you know, you have to be you and us as a ummah as the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us this opportunity, this month of fasting, depriving us from food and drink and intimate relations for a time, so that we can actually benefit for it in the long run. And we discussed those 10 benefits of fasting before, and we discussed so many of the positive impacts of fasting throughout the prior editions, and we will continue. By the way, the next session is going to be Friday, inshallah. So at this point, we're nearing 27 minutes. I just want to. We are going to be doing another session on Friday, and then we're going to go into these last 10 days, and I may increase. So I may increase this class to make it more than half an hour. The other thing is, I will probably I will probably add beyond the month of Ramadan. I will probably extend inner dimensions of fasting beyond the month of Ramadan. So, because I really personally find fasting, there are so many things that I learned from Imam Ghazali's work on this, which is the breaking of the two desires. So this is a workshop that I took, and it's fascinating in getting to those inner dimensions of fasting, and I want to share that with you, and I hope you're benefiting from this class, and you're benefiting from my translation of this work. So, Jazakumullah khair. One hadith that I do want to mention. I was going to speak about this in greater length, so I'll just mention this now before we go into the next session, and then we'll start off the next session off of this hadith. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once saw a man with a pretty big belly, and indicated his belly, indicated to his belly with his finger. And he says, if this were elsewhere, it would be better for you. So meaning what? Meaning if you had sent this before you, before, number one, he's saying that if this were on somebody else, it would actually be better, because you're taking more of your share of the world's resources than you're entitled to, and others need to benefit from those resources as well. Number one. Number two, you need to watch out for your akhirah. So you should have given it to somebody else and benefited from that sacrifice. So that point of ithar, which we discussed before, right? So there's a couple of points from that hadith that we'll pick up on in the next session, inshallah. But the point of today's talk is really, there's so many hidden benefits behind deprivation. And sometimes deprivation is not what it initially seems. And we need to look beyond that and to see the benefit behind fasting, behind deprivation, and behind waiting and persevering beyond what we see before us. So I'm going to stop here for a moment. Any questions, comments, please put them into the comment section so that we can share your insights with the rest of the class. So Ibrahim, did you had a question here about spouses? I'm not sure I understand your question. The book that I held up was actually Kasr Shehwatain, The Breaking of the Two Desires. So the book is a work of Imam Ghazali, breaking of the two desires. One is the desire of food, and the other being the desire for intimate relations with your spouse. So the idea being is that if you control the desire for fasting, it would then become easier to control all the other desires. So he starts off with the desire of breaking the desire of the stomach. So the spouses was a joke. Good. Okay, barakallah feekum. I think we're done with any questions. If you do have any questions and you want to hit me up offline, please, you know how to contact me. Barakallah feekum. سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته